Imagine waking up. It is the first day of a new year. The holidays are over. The resolutions have begun. The house is quiet. Upstairs, your 3 young sons are sleeping. Your wife is gone. Most of us in this situation would check our phones. We would look for a text, a note on the counter. But you don't do that. Instead, you walk into the darkness of the living room. You pick up your son's iPad and you type a question into the search bar. You don't ask, "Where is my wife?" You don't ask, "Flight schedules to DC." At 4:55 a.m., you ask the internet, "How long before a body starts to smell?" This isn't a hypothetical. This is the reality of January 1st, 2023, inside a home in Cohasset, Massachusetts. And the man holding the iPad is Brian Walshe. To the outside world, the Walshes were the portrait of the American dream. Ana Walshe was 39 years old, a Serbian immigrant who worked her way up from nothing to become a successful real estate executive. She was vibrant, ambitious. She had a plan to move her 3 boys down to Washington, D.C. to start a new life. And then there was Brian. Brian was different. At the time our story begins, he was already wearing a federal ankle monitor. He was under house arrest, awaiting sentencing for a massive art fraud scheme involving fake Andy Warhol paintings. He owed nearly $500,000 in restitution. The dynamic was fracturing. Ana was commuting to Washington, D.C., building that separate life, and, as we would later learn, she was having an affair. On New Year's Eve, they hosted a friend for dinner. They toasted to 2023. The friend left at 1:30 a.m. This was the last time anyone other than Brian saw Ana alive. Brian says Ana kissed him goodbye and took a rideshare to the airport for a work emergency. But the data tells a ghost story. In the modern age, you can't just disappear. If you take a ride, there is a record. If you board a plane, there is a manifest. If you exist, you leave a trace. But for Ana, there was nothing. No Uber came to the house. No ticket was ever scanned at Logan Airport. Her phone and credit cards went silent in the early hours of January 1st. While his children slept upstairs, Brian wasn't panicking about a missing wife. He was researching efficiency. And this wasn't one stray search, it was a tutorial playlist. At 4:58 a.m. he asked, "How to stop a body from decomposing?" By 5:47 a.m. he had moved on to 10 ways to dispose of a body if you really need to. He searched, "How to clean blood from a wooden floor?" And perhaps most chillingly, "Can you be charged with murder without a body?" Notice the phrasing, "if you really need to." He isn't looking for a way out. He is looking for a manual. Between January 1st and January 3rd, while Ana was supposedly in DC, Brian was busy. He was under house arrest, yet surveillance cameras caught him at Lowe's, Home Depot, and even a liquor store, miles from home. He wasn't buying lumber. He was spending $450 cash on a very specific shopping list. A Tyvek suit, mops and buckets, hydrogen peroxide, baking soda, and a hacksaw. Why does a man whose wife just left for work need a hacksaw and a full-body protective suit? It wasn't until January 4th, 3 full days later, that police were notified. And they weren't called by Brian. They were called by Ana's employer in DC, who was worried she hadn't shown up. Only then did Brian pick up the phone. He didn't just clean, he traveled. He drove to an apartment complex near his mother's home. He was seen hefting heavy trash bags into a dumpster. But here is where the story turns from digital to physical. Police managed to track down some of these bags at a trash facility in Peabody before they were destroyed. And what they found inside confirms the searches. They found Ana's hunter boots, her Prada purse, a piece of her Gucci necklace. They found a Tyvek suit and slippers, and the lab results were overwhelming. They found Anna's DNA on a hacksaw. They found it on a hatchet. They found blood on a rug that matched a photo of Anna working out on that exact carpet. You might be thinking, he got caught, it's over. But this is where the reality of the legal system twists the knife. There is no body. Right now, in December 2025, Brian Walshe is sitting in Norfolk Superior Court on trial for first-degree murder. But he has already pleaded guilty to 2 lesser charges: misleading police and improper disposal of a human body. He admits he lied. He admits he bought the cleaning supplies. He admits he dismembered her body. You heard that correctly. His defense team stood in court and claimed that Anna died suddenly and unexpectedly of natural causes. They argue that Brian, terrified that his art fraud conviction would mean losing his kids if his wife was dead, decided the best option wasn't to call 911. It was to chop her up in the basement. They want you to believe that a man who Googled, "Can you be charged with murder without a body?" just hours after she was last seen, was merely a grieving husband making a series of unfortunate choices. But prosecutors point to a pattern, not a panic. A marriage already cracking under the weight of an affair. A man facing financial ruin from his fraud case. A man who was the sole beneficiary of Anna's life insurance policy. A man who, years earlier, had been reported to DC police because he threatened to kill Anna. The basement tells a different story. The blood on the floor, the damaged knife. This wasn't a tragedy. It was a project. We curate our lives online. We post the happy dinners, the promotions, the New Year's toasts. We build these avatars of success. But offline, in the quiet of a suburban house, the reality is often much darker. Ana Walshe wanted a new life. She wanted to bring her children to Washington, D.C. She wanted out. Instead, she became a search term, a problem to be solved with a hacksaw and a bottle of ammonia. And 3 little boys are now growing up without either parent. Brian Walshe tried to delete her. He tried to scrub the timeline. But he forgot that in the digital age, nothing is ever truly deleted. The ghosts are in the metadata. And with that, I'll see you in the next one.